awesome.
Oh, your headphones are fancy.
My headphones are awesome. I can feel the bass.
Hi, friend. Sorry, that took way
Oh,
longer than
that's my
anticipated.
fault. I was hitting the wrong thing. I'm gonna own that. So these are not connecting to this. So I have this.
But that sounds good.
Yeah, no, you sound
Can you hear
great.
me?
You
Okay.
sound great.
Yeah,
Can you hear me
yeah,
now?
you
Michael
sound
and I have been
wonderful.
working on our stuff, making that we visually look awesome and that we sound awesome. So we're trying to do all those things.
Well, my brother's
Ian
getting
looks
married
handsome.
my brother's getting married in just a few days. So all week I've been sleeping.
Mm-hmm.
I've been using CBD to get to sleep
Had to go.
and drinking extra water
Mm-hmm.
and doing masks twice a day. So you're getting the best me. You're
You
getting
are
the best version of
like
Jessica.
facial
This
masks. My
is
my my wife has got my 17-year-old
No
putting on
emotional. I'm
masks.
emotionally
Emotional.
masking.
and what a great segue into what is going to be one of our most heroic and awesome episodes ever. Masking. That's the first thing we
Masking.
talked about. Hi, everybody. I'm Michael Adamthway, and with me, as always, is Ian Imrie. Say hello, Ian.
Here I am. Hello, everyone.
We are indeed looking and feeling just a little bit better, whether you heard the preamble or not. We're all working on ourselves. We are trying very much, all of us, to heal out loud and to share that
Love
healing.
that.
We got to have that out loud component. So yeah, Jess was just offering some really sound advice on taking care of skin. I dodge skincare. I don't know that it's just a man thing or if it's an ADHD thing, pardon me, but it's just one of those things that I struggle with.
No,
So
it's
yeah,
100%. There's a population that certainly takes care of their skin. I know, and I was just about to say, my 17-year-old son, he's playing football, so he's wearing that helmet, and that helmet is destroying his complexion. So here comes mom. We're doing a mask tonight, and
yeah.
so sure enough, it worked. I'm like, oh my god, there's
Isn't
science
it
behind
awesome
this.
how sometimes the best medicine is not wearing a helmet? Ironic.
No, he needs to. He needs to. He needs to. That kid needs to.
One of
Yeah.
the one of the bonuses of skincare routines, which I'm really bad at too. I have a plethora of products because I hoard them and never use them. I think, oh, this is going to be great, and then I never use them. So,
Christmas
one
presents are
of
like that.
yeah, one of the things that I'm noticing this week as I'm preparing to have my photo taken a whole bunch of times on the weekend is that is the time you're taking care of your skin is time you're not doing other things. You're not on your phone. You're not playing games on your phone. You're not idly scrolling. You're just kind of in yourself, and it's a quiet time. And you're doing a mask, and you're just kind of thinking about things. So it's a little added bonus. It's kind of like a Reiki treatment. Like maybe it works, maybe it doesn't, but at least you laid down flat for 30 minutes and relaxed and did
Some
nothing
would call
else.
that meditation. Some
Yeah.
would call that a moment for you. And with that being said, I want to introduce you, Jessica Peters, our new bestie, our new friend.
Yay,
She is
friend.
new best friend. We've
My
got
friend.
a great relationship starting with her from the CHILLIWACK Progress. Both her and her publisher have agreed to sponsor some efforts with what we're doing for November the 12th. The laughter is the best medicine. So thank you very much, Jessica. Why don't you take a quick minute and introduce yourself?
Sure. So yeah, my name is Jessica Peters. I am the editor of the CHILLIWACK Progress. I've been a reporter in the Fraser Valley for about 25 years now. I have three children, not children anymore, they're grown adults. And I am a cancer survivor, a patient advocate.
Well, that's
I,
why we when we first
yeah.
met, you were sharing your story, and Michael and I are like, oh my God. Like we definitely
Yeah.
need to carve out some time and have that conversation because you're not just a cancer survivor, you're a
No.
survivor across the
Yeah.
board with
Yeah. There's
everything that you've done and seen, both this realm and the next.
yeah.
You've got a lot of storytelling to do, and there's so much to unpack. Like you've got it all going into a book, which is fantastic. We're waiting to hear some updates on that. But tell us about your story. Tell us about what you experienced, about going through and catching a realm of bad news into worse news, into catastrophe news, to turning it around to becoming the person that you are today.
And
Boy.
perhaps a great opportunity to put in a small qualifier. The following story will humble you. The following story is definitely, I again, no one's going to tell it like Jess, but be aware. This will give you feels, and this will show you glimmers of the human condition that you didn't really think existed. So prepare yourselves, listeners. Thank you.
So when did this story begin?
No pressure. No pressure at all.
None. Zero.
No,
Um,
it's not a pressure thing.
We can always
So-
edit stuff too.
Yes. So there's really okay, so there's really two stories in my story. And there's the story of what happened to me when I was 15. And we can talk about that. And then there's the story of the cancer. I really feel like as I'm working on, as you mentioned, I've been working on a book. And what I've really been diving into in the last couple of weeks is being a little more honest with myself and what really happened to me, and not trying to paint it so much as a positive, and trying to really remember how bad it was so that I can really relate of what I've come to. So when I was 16, I was in a terrible car accident, biking accident. And so I was biking along, pedaling along the highway, no helmet. Helmets are good despite the bad rep they get for your complexion.
Just don't make me look good. That's all. I look like
Good
a goofball.
skincare should never come at the expense of helmeting. That is totally universally understood. Yes, ma'am.
This was 1992, and BC was either just coming into a helmet law. They're just coming into bicycling helmet laws. There was a lot of chatter about helmets, but we weren't really wearing them. And so the man who hit me with his pickup truck was going 131 kilometers an hour when he hit the brakes, and
Wow.
116 when he hit me. And I was
Oh.
just a tiny little string bean, 15 years old, 100 pounds. So he probably was horrified. His family was in his vehicle. I can't even imagine what they all think of this today. But I went to the left side of the road in a dip in the highway, and he went to the left side of the road, not seeing me in the dip of the highway, and we met, both of us, on the wrong side of the highway. So I don't remember this. I remember about half an hour before this happened. So I hit the grill, the hood,
Oh
the
my God.
windshield, and then the ground. Clothes flying everywhere, bike mangled, head cracked open, back broken, multiple.
You didn't share that the last time we talked.
No, I didn't share that the last time we
This
talked.
is graphic.
Well, I mean, she gotta save some
Some of the juicy
details.
stuff. Yes.
Some of the
There's a book's worth. So,
Yes.
there's a lot.
There is a book's worth.
I can't wait for the movie.
So I woke up about 3 days later, and I was told pretty quickly that what had happened to me and that I had died. And
Wow.
my mom hadn't left my side at that point, and I wasn't in a coma from the injuries so much as being kept in a medically induced coma to protect me a little bit. That's what they do.
Right.
And so they didn't know who was going to wake up, what was going to happen, because I had flatlined in the ER. I was on my stomach, and they were looking at my skull, which had cracked open, and that's when they lost me. And so my mom was in the room. It was the ER. It wasn't like an operating room or anything like that. My mom was with me, and so anyway, so she was able to relate that to me, and so you can imagine, 15 years old, middle of the summer, 1992. There's no internet, right? So 10 days later, I was like 10 days after the crash, I was released from the hospital. I was able to walk. I was very determined to get up and out of my hospital bed and
Wow.
just start walking around the ward. I was in the children's ward at 15, so I just walked around the nurses' center, and this was at Kelowna General Hospital. And but I was given no care. I was given no post care. It was an ICBC claim, so I was eventually given some access to some physiotherapy. And eventually, a couple of years later, I was tested for, any sort of memory loss or depression. But we're talking like I went through my senior years of high school with no care, no emotional care, and nobody
Wow.
was talking about, TBIs or traumatic brain injuries, which I'm sure like your listeners will know some of the terminology already. But
Were there
so
signs? Were you able to figure out on your own though, going through it by yourself? Were you trying to, were there signs for you to go, you know what, something's not right. Something's not, no.
no. So I had vision problems. I had lost my smell and my sense
Well,
of
that's a
smell.
sign.
That's a sign there's something wrong, but who are you going to tell? So I started drinking. I started doing drugs. Not anything heavy, just, a little bit of light drug action. And I started getting my mom to get my painkillers from one place and then secretly going to another place and getting more painkillers. So
Mm.
Wow.
it was a rough year or so. And and I got very dark, very, very dark. I started going to church. I started thinking like that there was some meaning all behind it. Like maybe I'd done
Mm.
something wrong and this was an atonement. I had
Oh.
really dark thoughts. And so um, eventually I was able to get out of this and step out of it. And I don't know what it is other than resilience that I was born with, maybe, but um, it was all it was all very strange right like now when I'm looking back at that and I think how much access everybody has to mental health information and everybody talks about suicide ideation. Of course I was having suicide ideation when I was 15, 16 after this happened. I
Mm.
did die, so of course I'm obsessed with death, right?
Yeah.
And there's somebody to talk to. There's not even an internet to, you guys know, you guys
Mm.
remember
Well,
what it was
there's
like
no
back in the day?
WebMD. There,
No.
there's no WebMD.
Dr.
There's no
Google.
Doctor Google. There's none of this infrastructure. And medically, being dead for several minutes, I can't imagine having to process that, as well as being what was a fit, able, active teenager, and having all of that suddenly stripped away, and not having the care, not having the correct amount of access. I mean, like, how did you not end up with a suitcase full of cash? You got hit by a truck. Like,
That's a whole other segment about ICBC.
okie dokie.
They had sent an adjuster to my hospital bed without an adult in the room, and he questioned me while I was just coming off of morphine-induced coma. Yeah, that was
And
fun.
Highly
death.
unlawful.
And death.
Unlawful.
Mm-hmm. So they constantly would say, like, use things like that against me when we were doing discovery and stuff. And like, well, you said this. And well, yeah, but I was in a hospital bed and there was no adult there. So there was a lot of that kind of stuff. And I did end up with, I didn't end up with a pile of cash, but it did pay for my education. So one of the things, the tools that people have had since the dawn of time is to write. And so I dove into writing. I dove into drawing because I had to wear an eye patch in high school in grade 10, imagine. Um, it got easier to just kind of do this. And I still do that when I'm tired. I find I still cover my eye. It's kind of just a protective thing. But
Not
I
because
had
you're
to,
going below decks
I
or
had to really study. And
yeah.
because of my head injury, I had to work extra hard. So I was a B student maybe before, but to keep up that grade level, I had to dive into my books. I had to work so, so hard at it. Um, then I sort of went over my own curve and I became an A student.
Wow.
And yeah, and I realized that I am really good at the arts, like really good. Like I don't just like it, I'm good at it, probably because I was practicing it.
Mhm.
I was writing a lot, reading more than ever because I was trying to keep up with my skills and learned French
Did you find that any of your healing attributes or physical, emotional frustration, did you find any of that making its way into your art?
oh yeah.
It certainly happened that way for me as a young, injured, a teen who also was gravitating toward the arts. I found sometimes it all showed up right there on the canvas. I found other times I was working in the complete other direction to sort of get away from that stuff. What was it like for you?
So, um, so yes, all of that. I don't think I could go back to that point in time and tell you that I knew consciously that that was what was happening, but it definitely is what was happening. I mean, I was consuming giant novels. Like I read Roots in a week, and like I was just going above and beyond, and learning how to sing better and learning how to act. And I was in drama classes with John Hiberson up in my high school, and he's still alive and a wonderful man today, and still doing small theater in Midway, BC. Um, but I would use his acting class. He was also my writing teacher. I would use his acting class to kind of improv things and kind of write out loud in my head and act it out. And I had that was a major outlet for me, to have access to his drama room, and even like, putting makeup on other people and writing plays and trying to figure out what this was about and that was about, and lighting. And it was just it was a distraction.
Mhm.
It was creative,
It
and
sounds
it
like it was
made
also a safe space.
is a super safe space, and
Yeah.
also was a place where I could actually be good at something rather than be the patient, be the
Mm.
broken patient, be sad, be that girl that got hit by the truck, or like being like pinholed as something else. I was, or like pegged as something else. I was pigeonholed. That's the word.
Transformed.
Yeah. So, but still, it was years and years and years before I learned anything about TBI, and I struggled in the background as I had children pretty young and went to college, and but I always kind of had like depressive sort of episodes, not episodes, but like I was just always had this nagging sadness and this feeling that I wasn't good enough, that I had to work harder than
Mm.
everybody else, and so I was, so this is where it sort of segues into the cancer thing. So I became my version of a superwoman, and I was running circles. I had, if I could have made a 26-hour day when I was raising my three sons, I would have been so happy. So, and I would have just filled it with 7 more hours worth of stuff. And
Wow.
getting up at 5:30 in the morning and making fresh buns and going to PAC meetings and being I'll be the president, and trying to overachieve at work and be a mom and work, as much as I
Super
could.
mom.
That's
Super mom,
amazing. Super mom.
hockey
Yes.
Super mom.
mom,
Where's the
all
cape?
the sports, all the sports. Yeah, can we have a parade for mom every day because she's
Yes,
so awesome?
parade to
And then still
celebrate
having that
Jess.
in, still having that imposter syndrome and thinking, oh, why am I not writing that? How come I forgot French? Why aren't I doing more art? Why aren't I doing all of these things? Why aren't I a better wife? Why aren't I a better daughter? Why aren't I all these things, right? And
Mm.
so in 2015, I was in a car accident. It's a pretty serious one. And I it was a neuralgic injury that I ended up with because the way that I was looking up at the crash, it was amazing. But the pain,
That's amazing.
I
You
saved
should have been
myself in this
there.
kind of like Bond moment where I kind of like swished my car over, and but anyway, my hand ended up breaking, and then
Oh
the
no.
pain went up into my neck because I was looking like this semi truck driver. Um, so what happened then, I was working full time. My kids are all in high school or high school age. And I'm driving them all over the place. I'm really needed in my family. I'm really like a linchpin of the family at this point. And
Mm.
all of a sudden, I can't work, can't drive, can't keep my eyes open, can't stay awake, and work safe. I was working at the time, and so was the other person. So this isn't an ICBC case; it's a work safe case. They're like, nope, we can't have this. We need this woman back on the job. And so they put me into a 6-week, 6-hour a day post-concussive rehab program where I had access to every single healthcare professional one could imagine in that situation, right from
Wow.
like breathing technologies and meditation experts to right up to psychotherapy.
That's
kinesiology,
incredible.
physical therapy, peoples with masters that are like studying you for 6 hours a day and then throwing you on the treadmill and saying, no, today's not a sleep day. You get on that treadmill and you give us what you got. And by the end of that, when I was there, I couldn't drive myself there. I had to get a taxi. On my last week, I was standing on a Bosu board, like the balance board, upside down, far away from a wall, playing tennis against the wall with myself. Or not tennis, but like bouncing a
Wow.
tennis ball against the wall over. So 6 weeks of intensive, um, patient-based therapy, 6 hours a day, and I was fine. And I think
Wow.
back, and I think, what would my life be like if I was given that when I was 15?
Mhm.
What would it be like?
Yeah.
All
Oh,
of the
you'd have been in the
heartache,
bionic, you'd have been the bionic teen.
not just that, but all of the depression and heartache in the 20 years in
Yeah.
between that I could have avoided.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Wow.
So I'm not quiet about it. I'm loud about it. And when somebody tells
No,
me, thank God
advocate.
yeah,
Absolutely.
when
Get on
somebody
a milk
tells me,
crate.
yeah, when someone tells me I've been in a car accident, I'm kind of down, or somebody says, I'm injured and this is bothering me, or even just a mental health thing that comes from no physical injury, I give them I say, do you have a minute? You want to talk? So that started then at that point. So little did we know at that point, I probably also had cervical cancer. So it was just would have just been starting to grow because it's a really slow cancer. I was a busy person. I was dealing with that other part of like all of that sort of healing, skipped a pap smear, ended up with some very hard, cervical cancer symptoms, heavy bleeding. I've just been writing about it. It's so grotesque, but so
Wow.
much blood because it was an open wound tumor. So I was bleeding quite a bit, dragging
It's the
myself.
science. It is the science of sickness, and it
Yeah.
is uncomfortable, and we are here for you. It
Thank
is
you.
probably difficult, but
That
yeah.
was Michael's uncomfortable voice.
Yeah. Ew. So I was depleted to the point where I had almost no ferritin in my body. And I didn't know I had cancer. We kind of figured I had some sort of cancer. I'm celiac, and so my doctors had thought it was colon or some sort of gastrointestinal cancer, and I'd had a scope, but nothing had been shown. Had a scope while I had stage 2B cervical cancer, and nobody noticed the tumor. So these
Wow.
things, it's really important that you advocate for yourself. And if
Yeah.
you know something's wrong and you get one test and it says nothing's wrong, just keep going. So
That's the
Yeah.
that's the
really
big
fired
message
up
right
about
there.
this. I get
I love
really
that.
fired up.
Yeah, advocate for yourself. That's the
Yes.
big one, and nobody does that
Yeah,
well enough. And we hope
especially with
and
women.
hope that this is this is going to be fine. This is going to be great.
Yeah,
I didn't get a chance to do, but advocate, learn, understand your
yeah.
body, get to connect with that body, because that
Yeah,
body is
and
going
do
to tell you.
and I would also say do it in a way where you don't have to fly into the red, because we love everyone in the medical field. They deserve our appreciation, our respect, and they don't ever need to feel like they're working in an unsafe environment. But if an educated person comes in with a request that's articulate, well thought out, and presented, why should they be denied a second test or a second look or another, like, here's another recommendation, here's another doctor.
Exactly. So there I was trying to be the superwoman. So I was basically every day, we were in a 2-story building at the time, and I would grab onto the railing and hike myself up to the newsroom. I was that on the edge. I was that depleted.
Wow.
And one of my gynecologists said to me, something that really hit, like this wasn't until after I was cured and all of this. And about a year later, he says to me, he goes, I appreciate you so much, Jessica. Like you've had your life force drained from you, and you brought yourself back up to be such a positive person. Like how did this happen? And I don't really know how it happened, except that I have somewhere along the line while I was sick, I just completely gave in to the idea that my mental health, if that's not in place, if my mental health isn't in place, everything else is going to fall apart. And if I
Hmm.
notice the tiniest little thing, I think it's probably like when a child is abused, and then they grow up and have relationships and they're like everything triggers them because they're on edge. That's how I am with
Mm,
my body. My body's been abused. And so now
mm.
it's like, oh, or like the lassies, like something's in the well or whatever, something's in the well. Like there's something
Little
tiny.
Timmy,
Yeah. Something
get
tiny. There's
help.
a tiny little whisper in my body. And to me, that's a shout. So I've gone from ignoring the shouting, anytime something big is happening in your body, they say that's your body shouting at your brains, like, wake up, pay attention. And then the more you ignore, the louder that's going to get. So now I have it like dialed right up. So if something sits a little bit wrong, I'm like, wait a second, like I didn't sleep well last night. Let's investigate that. Why didn't I sleep well
Yeah.
last night? What did I eat
Well,
yesterday? What was I concerned about? What are my major issues that I need to address today so that I can sleep tonight? And
yeah, and what
and
an
like this is
amazing
like
skill set that should be put into school. Like where is the self-care course that teaches you, hey, you know what? Maybe you should document how you slept. Maybe you should take an idea or two towards writing down what you eat or, what you talked about that day because, toxins exist in many forms. I would have loved a course like that.
Yeah, and I know, so part of my role here before I became editor was the education reporter. And I've spent a lot of time speaking to educators and students and parents about this. And these are things that are happening. And there are courses like this in high schools in BC now, and but they have to sign into them. It's not a mandatory thing. And it's
Mm,
only as good as the person who's delivering the message. So, but it is there, and those components are there. I was standing at the corner of my corner store yesterday by chance, and there was these three teenage boys, probably about 15 years old, on scooters and bikes and stuff. And the language that they were using was so informed. And they were talking about how one boy didn't want to do what the three of them were doing. They were trying to go figure out where to go look at the sunset. I mean, come on, right? So where are we
that's
gonna go find
incredibly
where are they? So
wholesome.
first of all, I'm like, I'm listening
Ian,
right
that
away.
sounds like your son. Ian,
Yeah.
that sounds like Ian's boys.
So the one boy thought it would be too much work to go up the hill, and so they told him that they said that sounds like a really negative viewpoint. Maybe we can look at it in a different way, in that it's going to be a lot of work, but it'll be worth the effort. And I was like, who are these kids? Like, where did they
I
come
see
from?
future
And
politicians.
I was just, the rest of my walk, I was like, oh, this is amazing. I love these kids. And then about 500 meters down the road, I probably ditched them. But so, it's coming around. Or he ditched them. But the kids are learning. They're learning from us. They're learning from each other. And I do think that they're learning from their educators, who have, teachers in BC especially have had it hard over the last couple of years. Well, everywhere with the pandemic has kind of helped people think more about their mental health.
Yeah.
Getting
And
back from that has just been a whirlwind. I know that my son, he's in grade 12, and I was talking to the principal that, um, the amount of physical fighting that's taking place in a school setting at his school, it's maybe one or two a year that were substantial. Now it's one or two a week. So there was a little bit of a transition getting back to the regular grind of everything. And yeah, it's starting to straighten out now. There's a lot, like you said, there's a lot more support. There's a lot more discussions, letting everybody know that there are programs and things to take advantage of to make sure that they're okay. In my son's case, he's joined the football team. He's part of the program that's available at his school, and that seems to be a huge influence in his life. So that's a positive. That's a positive. But not all these kids have those opportunities as well. So it's great to see that you're seeing it on the street. They're doing
Yeah.
it.
yeah,
Yeah. We
it was
just need
really
to
cool.
keep spreading the awareness and, making sure that there's that right level of, understanding out there in the community, right? Because we can't just let old habits and old points of view dictate how we feel about young people because, oh, all teenagers are supposed to be terrible, blah, blah, blah. And then you hear a real
That story.
teenager
Yeah.
out in the wild,
Yeah.
Doing it right.
having
Acting like a
conversations.
human, acting like a
Yeah.
full-fledged human that's coming to counseling or something. So,
Yeah.
so speaking of counseling, so I went through the cancer process and like the whole thing. So I was diagnosed on Mother's Day weekend. It was terrible.
Uh,
Um, and then I had to have a few things done before treatment can start. You know, obviously my blood levels were really low, so I had to have blood transfusions, which was traumatic enough. And so that started on Canada Day, and I was wrapped up my treatment mid-August. And then I was told that, well, your tumor is still, and this is very normal. So your tumor is a quarter of the size that it was when we started. So that's great news. And I was like, what do you mean my tumor? It still exists? What are you talking about? We're done?
Where'd it be
Like,
going?
what?
We were
And
supposed to shrink it into oblivion.
yeah. And so my tumor was called I nicknamed it the womb raider
Womb
because
Raider.
it was invading my uterus. So it seemed very great, and I'm a big fan of you know, comic book style movies, and so Lara Croft was playing heavily into that, you know, the whole thing. So
Awesome.
so yeah, so we found out around Christmas time, just before Christmas, that the tumor was then completely gone. So it takes a long time, and I think that that's something that people don't realize. And when you have a cancer diagnosis or any kind of really serious health diagnosis, you only know what you know every day, and every day you go to the doctor. With cancer, sometimes it is every day, and you learn something new, and it's horrible. Sometimes it's good news, sometimes it's bad news, but mostly it's just so heavy. And so one of the things that they encourage you to do with BC Cancer is take advantage of their counseling services. And I was like, you know, I was still in super mom mode. I was like,
It's not for me.
I
Super mom.
I've
I got this.
never needed counseling. I've got
No.
this, right? And then I just started to feel more and more like maybe I don't have this. Maybe this is extra. And so at the same time, I was teaching myself to crochet, because you can't just relax when you're type A. You have to, like, oh, I'm going to be sitting still. I need new hobbies. So I
Yeah.
decided to teach myself to crochet while I'm sick, because, you know, that's smart. And so I'm struggling with this ball of yarn and this thing, and I'm sitting outside the counselor's office for my very first counseling appointment with the BC Cancer. And it couldn't have been more poetic. The yarn fell down and everything unraveled. And I was like, you're kidding. Like, as a writer, I completely see the metaphor here. Yes, I get it. I start
Yes.
bawling,
Yes.
and I'm like, if you're gonna unravel, do it outside your counselor's office. And then I just cried for an hour on the lady's couch. And she's like, that's okay. We don't have to talk about anything.
Yeah, just let it out.
I finally cried. So I was through all of
Yes.
this stuff and months and months and months of wondering what was going on, and finally getting a diagnosis and getting all prepared and all the scans, and, you know, meeting my oncologist. And it wasn't until weeks into treatment where I just bawled.
Yeah.
And then I came undone, and I was like, what's this about meditation? And so so they got me into the meditation class, and I learned how to meditate properly, and I learned um sorry, I do have post-concussive syndrome, and sometimes I do forget words, and I'm pretty open about that. Even as a
Oh,
reporter,
don't ever be sorry. Not
but
to me, not ever.
I like to
No,
model to people that it is important to acknowledge that I have a brain injury, because it is like we have to destigmatize that. So I have a brain injury, so
Absolutely.
sometimes I forget the words. So
I'm a
the
52-year-old man and I
thankfulness.
forget words.
I'm completely blanking on the word, but when you know, you're thankful. Gratitude, thank you. I found it. So I practice gratitude. And so I thought I was always a grateful person. But being grateful and practicing gratitude are two separate things. And one of the things I want to talk to you guys about, because I'm sure that you know about this, is how practicing gratitude can actually change the brain chemistry and what you actually experience in a day. So if you tell
Yes.
your brain, if you sit down on your phone app or on a piece of paper, and you think of 3 glimmers of the day, 3 things that would just knock your socks off. Like, and if it's hard, it can be as easy as the sun came up, I woke up, I'm alive, right?
Yeah.
All right, but yesterday it was those three kids that showed me that not all boys are jerks. So
Yeah.
that goes in the gratitude journal. And then when you wake up the next, maybe not the next day, maybe not the first day you do it, maybe not the second day, maybe the third day, your brain, it knows that it has a task to do, and it's running a program in the back as you're going through your day. It's like, she's going to ask us at 9 o'clock tonight what the best things were, so we better start looking for it. So your brain
Yeah.
actually looks for the glimmers, and so you become a more positive person just by being grateful. And it doesn't
I
have to be
love
anything
that
big.
word.
Do you
My
know that
wife
that word has
Danica.
come into my world 3 times
Yes.
in the last 24 hours?
Yeah,
Really?
Yeah,
yeah.
so
We use that word. We use that word a lot. Like I said, my wife Danica uses that word. She is the smartest woman I know, and she has this wonderful way of living and looking at the universe. And of course, we are flawed people married to flawed people, just trying to do our best. But that word means so much to me now, and has such a wonderful quality about it. And I started practicing very similarly, something that just has become part of my everyday. And I've just been getting better and better and better at things despite my setbacks. Someone says, "Hey, how's your day going?" I say, "Best day ever." And like, "Oh, really? Why?" And they get completely lit. They get super engaged. They ask me all these questions. And then I tell them like three really normal things. Like, I woke up and the kids were healthy. I got a chance to take them all to school and say good morning. It was great. I'm having the best day ever. And they're like, "Oh, I thought it was like, like you're gonna go fly a plane for the first time or something." I'm like, "No, I mean, that'd be fun." But simple small practices go so far.
So
no,
a friend of mine a few months ago sent me a picture, and it was just a random picture, and it was just a picture of a cityscape, um, and the sky, the sunset. And he had said earlier, he's like, "Oh, I'm stuck in hotel land, walking around, trying to find something to do." And I was like, "Oh man, that you're so lucky to see that beautiful sunset." And he was like,
Mm.
"That is not the photo that I thought I sent you." He, in his mind, he was sending a picture of all of the gridlock and the,
Yeah,
grossness of the town. I didn't see any of that. I only saw the
yeah,
sunset. And he was like, "What's with you?"
good for you, Jessica.
But
Good for
like,
yeah.
you,
Different
Jessica.
lenses. So
but
you clean your window every day.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I have days when I am not this version of me. Trust me. Like it's not all roses and rainbows, but I do know now that if that becomes a pattern, I know I have other tools in my toolbox to go back and become that better person, and to shine my light a little brighter.
I like that tool in the toolbox. I use that regularly. Now,
Yeah.
here's a question to you about what you've seen because you've been through a lot and you've been able to do it on your own and you've been able to tap into a system. Now, with us being brand new on the scene, where do you see this being beneficial? Best Medicine, not just the podcast, but the events that we'll be conducting here in the very near future. We want to get out there and bring that awareness and let people know we're working on other projects. One of our partners, he's currently designing an app for our community so that they can tap into mental health, PTSD, and just all around wellness. Where do you see Best Medicine playing as a tool in the toolbox for you and anyone else that might be just listening and going, "You know what, I had no idea." Where do you see Best Medicine working?
So the thing that I love so much about Best Medicine when you guys brought this to us is I thought, oh my gosh, community talking about mental health. So like not just community, like a larger community, but I can I can dive into mental health stuff and medicine and science. But if I could do that beside my buddy and laugh
Yeah.
and then have that memory
Body
together.
doubling.
Yeah, if I can have that memory together 6 weeks, 6 months down the road, and I say to my friend, or my friend says to me, like, I'm feeling really depressed, I can maybe pull out a little anecdote from the show and say, "Hey, remember that? Hey, remember that thing
Yeah.
we learned?" And I've never heard that body doubling for this sort of thing before, but yes. So I think that when you have these shared experiences together, they're really strong. And I think that oftentimes as a patient, you feel very alone. So
Yeah.
so I've been a patient since I was 15. a constant patient. There's never not been a time where I have been like I've been a chronic pain patient since I was 15, and then I've just had concurrent issues on top. And I mean, we could talk about how I've cured my um, I had stage 3 hypertension when after I got sick, and I lost 8 pounds. Like done all of
What?
these things. So
So
You are supermom.
you literally became the doctor that you needed
I am
most
my best doctor.
and did not get right away.
Yeah.
I cannot applaud you enough. You are an amazing, exemplary human, and I say this with all the love in the world. We are all of us, shareholders in the universe. We have a little slice. We're living the life that we can. We're doing our best. Some of us are over there. Some of us are over here. Some of us are. But you, my friend, you
You
are
talk
a
every day.
beacon.
Yeah.
Can you call me every day?
Yeah. I will call you every day. You can watch this video every day, share a sliver of my heart every day. You have
Aw.
got such an amazing flame, and you are healing out loud. And I'm trying to compose myself and not get emotional, but you
It's okay to
feel
get
like
emotional. I've
one
cried a
of
couple times. I'm
my,
just hiding.
yeah, I just feel like you are now one of my strong new sister friends that can just let that ripple fly out into the universe unabashedly, without remorse or regret, guilt or shame. And I commend you, human to human. You impress me, you inspire me, and you motivate me. And I'd like to just express my gratitude to you. So thank you very much.
Well, I think one of the
I just
biggest
won't speak
things
for a
that I'd like
minute.
to echo on that is the fact that you took control. You were able to take control and understand where you and your body stood, and how you took full control of making sure that you were able to better yourself and put yourself on a better path. That's where I think the biggest message is from this particular episode is tune into you and learn about you and the messages that your body is sending you so that you can tap into you. If you don't think that you are depressed, I got news for you. You are human. You're going to go through depression. I know for the very longest time it's like depression is how do I figure that out? I don't know what it even feels like.
Mhm.
Mm,
What does that even feel like? I don't even know what depression is. But
And
once
if
you
you're
start
always
paying
feeling
attention to it,
depressed, how do you even see it as anything different than normal? Right?
yeah,
exactly,
Like
exactly.
yeah.
you just don't know until you know. So, but yeah, but getting back to what I see, like the use of best medicine is that storytelling is really important. I'm a big, obviously, fan of storytelling, and you can't get through to people anymore, if you ever could, without really strong stories. And laughter is,
Amazing.
it's not just the best medicine, but it's also something that brings people together in a way that other things can't. And
Mm,
when you are sick, humor is really important, and dark humor. It gets dark. I used to have a
yeah.
joke that if I just hung around, maybe I just keep hanging around the cancer clinic and just cozy up to the oldest, sickest, richest looking men. That was kind of like the joke. It's like, oh, just out, it wasn't out getting treatment anymore. It was out husband shopping at the.
That
Just
was my
out
wife's plan.
fishing,
That
out
was
wishing
Yeah.
for a
It's
husband.
just
yeah.
you only have to be nice to him for a little bit. He's gonna be
Uh,
gone soon. But
uh,
you do get really dark. At the same time, so I think we have an hour, right? We just,
Yep.
we just have
Yep.
so this is gonna get really sad at the end. So at the same time that I was diagnosed, on Mother's Day, so it was in May. In February, my mom had been diagnosed with a very aggressive form of breast cancer called HER2 positive breast cancer. It invaded her within weeks. It went from an itch in her bra to a giant tumor that had her like that.
oh,
Um, in a 3-day span of that happening, I can't remember if it was just before or just after, my brother passed away. Uh,
oh,
That's a
and
lot.
through fentanyl. So, So she dealt with 2 blows in 1 week, and it took a long time for her to heal. And she's still here today. Like they told her that she wasn't going to survive, to make it to treatment. And thankfully,
She's still here.
because of science and
Yeah.
research, she's still here. Her treatment worked. She has no cancer. And so
Wow.
she's
I
in
love human defiance.
yes, she's in
Yes to human defiance.
and she is where I got my strength. If you want to know, like she didn't have the tools to help me when I was a 15-year-old girl that was trying to put her body back together, literally put my body back together.
Right.
She brought her A game when I was sick, even though she was dying. We thought she was dying. Everybody's dying, but she was fighting her terminal illness and supporting me along the way, and then I was doing my best to support her back. And that bond is something like she's just, I said my brother's getting married on Saturday. My mom's arriving on Friday, and I'm so excited.
Yeah.
So we've been through a lot together as a family, and talking things through has become something that our family does now. If I'm upset about something, I tell my mom, and I'm 48 years old, 48 pretty quick, and I just realize now, in the last couple of years, like one of these days I'm not going to have her, so I better start using this resource now because she's pretty cool lady. But we joke about being super women, and that we're unkillable, and obviously we're not, but yeah, she keeps me going, and I hope to be that for my kids, and it's one of the things that keeps me going every day is that I want to be a grandma one day, and I want to be there when they need me, because they'll face hardships in their lives, and I want to be able to support them, and I want them to look at me and go, oh, that's the person that we can count on, because she is strong as nails, but also soft, right?
Yeah.
So,
resilient doesn't mean without, gentility, without, that ability to be caring and loving and, nurturing all the things that you are. Yeah.
For sure.
Tough. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, here's a question. You're responsible for writing up an article on us. How much is this going to cost us to make it look so beautiful?
Can't write a book. I don't know.
No, we do appreciate your support, and I know that I would love to have your mom as a new fan and just understand what we're trying to accomplish so that she can spread the good word to her friends and her surroundings. And I think with what we're doing on November the 12th, Laughter is the Best Medicine, we're going to be sending out those tickets here next week. We have a call here this afternoon with the Chilliwack Culture Center just to finalize a few things, and
amazing.
We're going to invite as many people out to fill the 550 seats and start there. It's been how many videos do we have now that we're just sticking on our YouTube? About 9 videos. We've got 3 episodes. This is our 4th episode.
We are sitting with just a few things in our back pocket that are in the can, because of course my excitement level would have me post everything in one day. And that's what I would do. But we really sincerely can't thank you enough, Jess, for being with us today to share your story. And of course, I love multi-generational healers out loud.
Yes.
Good for you. Good for mom. Advocating for yourself is really hard. Advocating for a loved one is really hard. Can we? Is there? I think we need like a best medicine trophy. we need a best medicine trophy, and we'll just add little parts to it, and we can add, like, you carried all these family members and all this other stuff. It'll be huge. We'll just build on it.
That kind of appeals too much to my superwoman desires. So, and I'm trying to become a calmer version of myself. So I don't know if I'll accept. But yes,
I hear chamomile. I couldn't even say it without laughing. Chamomile tea.
Well, my son runs a dispensary, so I'm all set for calm. Yeah.
Good. Yeah. No, my son pronounces it shamamale.
Shamamale.
way better than chamomile. That's because chamomile always makes me think of camels, and that's just not the way it is. But I mean, of course, my son, has dyslexia, and sometimes words, come out interestingly enough. Like you talk about TBI, talk about dyslexia, shamamale, and I was like, that is the most elegant mispronunciation I've
Yeah.
ever heard.
Beautiful. It's
I
So
have,
now I think of
I have to steal the moment here. I just got a message
oh,
from Kathy over at Julie Ann's Art and Custom Framing. She's agreed to be a sponsor for this
hey,
show. So
Kathy,
we've got a
I just
new
bought some art supplies
sponsor.
there the other day. I just got
you
some.
bought
I
art
bought some-
supplies there the other day?
Yeah, I just went in there and bought some gouache. I don't know.
I'm gonna have
Gouache?
to Google gouge.
Gouache.
You mean
Gouge.
like French, like gauze, like gouge?
It's like a gouache, a gauche.
We're gonna have to call Kathy to get the right pronunciation.
Tune in,
on
everyone,
that.
while we butcher words in other languages and laugh about it. Yeah,
Well, thank you,
that's,
Kathy, for joining us. This is great. So I
Thank
think
you,
we're about
Kathy.
8 sponsors now. We're growing
Cool.
quite nicely. I got to tell you, this is a hot topic. Everybody that I've talked to is like, thank God you guys are doing this. Thank you for leading this. And how can we support? So anybody who's listening to this particular episode, yeah, please reach out. Let us know. It doesn't have to be monetary. It can certainly be anything that you feel that can help us help you guys, and just share. We just want to be able to heal out loud. That's the quote that Michael and I found this week. That's a big one that we certainly do want to help with people heal out loud. You got to share. We got to share this out. And thank you very much, Kathy and Julianne's Art Custom Framing, for joining us. This is going to be a great event, and hopefully they'll come on the show and share.
Yeah, it's wonderful. Thank you so much for having me. It's a wonderful experience, and I will shout it from the rooftops that people need
Please.
to be, taking care of themselves, and honestly, coming out to see your show is going to be healing for so many people. So
Looking forward to it.
I'm gonna make sound effects. So look
right now or at the show.
Well, I can't just drop it right now. That would be like leaking my own stuff and then going to the internet and like complaining that someone who worked for me leaked my stuff. I'm looking at all the celebrities who do that. Yeah, no, they leak their own stuff. No, I'm going to attempt to open the show with a few moments, hopefully with my friend Ian beside me. And I'm going to attempt to rejoin the ranks of comedians by being funny for a minute, maybe.
And then we'll pass it off to the professionals.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I will go eat popcorn.
Well, thank you very much for your time, Jessica. Again, I will look forward to continue to work with you. You and Tara have been a huge supporter. We appreciate the sponsorship from Black Press Media and Chilliwack Progress. We want to celebrate that as well and make sure that we continue doing what we're doing. And anybody that you know that wants to be a part of this, again, we're available. Our hands are waving saying, hey, we would love your help. So anyone that's out there that wants to help out, feel free to reach out. And again, please have a wonderful evening and a day that to remember.
Thank you, guys.
Tremendous.
Have a wonderful night.
Tremendous. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
Yeah, you
Take
too.
care, everyone.
Bye.
I feel like this is going to work. I feel like this is going to work. Do I look goofy with the headphones?